I call to order the meeting of the Municipal Authority on this May 15, 2021. We just returned from an executive session to discuss litigation matters. All right, roll call. Steve Mackel.
Here.
Tom Greco.
Yeah.
Maria Kane here. Louis Rosenthal.
Here.
And then I haven't been doing this, but I guess I should ask, our solicitor, Michael Madron.
Here.
And our operations manager, Stephen Neese.
Here.
And our engineer, David Porter.
Here. Finance.
What's that?
Finance.
And our new finance director. Welcome and thank you for coming, Yvonne Bullock. All right, now we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So can I make the motion now before we approve the agenda? Okay. So I'm going to make a motion to amend the agenda to include a new 9.2. So that would move our current 9.2 down to 9.3. The new 9.2 would read, consider approving the bills on check register B dated May 15, 2023, totaling an amount not to exceed $10,000. Can I have a motion? Can I have the motion? Yes, and as part of that motion, I would request that the new 9.3 read check register C. No other changes to that item. May I have a motion to amend the agenda as such?
So much.
All right, we'll take the motion from Louis. Do I have a second? Second from Tom. And any public comment on that motion to amend the agenda? There isn't anybody here from the public. So hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, may I have a motion?
Just so I can for the record.
So I can, for the record, that was everyone who's present voting yes.
Yes,
Just because it's supposed to be a roll call vote, but just, that's fine.
okay,
Good.
I
Thank you.
apologize. Next time I'll do a roll call vote. Hopefully we won't have to amend the agenda.
No.
All right, now may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second. Or so moved.
All right, we'll take that. Steve, do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, in your packet, you've received minutes from the April 17 meeting. And I have a motion to approve the minutes. I'll make the motion.
Madam Chair, before you do that, I know we've said that there was no public here, but I would just go on, get on record that you
Right.
called for public comment again, because you called for public comment
Right,
related
right.
just to the one.
Gotcha. All right, here, since there's no members of the public here,
Why don't you
I'm
go for
assuming-
public comment on agenda and non-agenda items, and then we'll knock them both out.
Yeah.
So we can fill that in at the end.
that's a good idea. All right, any public comment on agenda or non-agenda items? Right, hearing none and seeing no members of the public here, we'll move on. So I think I've made the motion to approve the minutes from the April 17, 2023 meeting.
And I seconded it.
That's seconded by Louis. Any questions or comments? Did everybody okay with those? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to 8.1, the treasurer's report. I don't know, is this Steve? Are you?
I'm
doing that?
going to go ahead and lead us through this
then-
this time, because most of the report I've worked on, and so I just wanted to go through the couple things with you. You have in your documents, a variety of documents. One that I want to make you aware of was actually the list that we sent to Portnoy. And in that list, if you go through, you can see what they've done so far. If I am correct, I think they've collected about $21,000. There's still roughly 87,000 outstanding. So they've collected roughly, doing rough math, about 20%. So I wanted you to be aware of that. That was something you specifically asked for. We will be trying to get that on a monthly basis for you, so you have that kind of going forward, and know that. What I will tell you is, usually with things like this, you get that first kick up, people get pretty quick responding, and then I see they're taking lots of other actions on everyone else. So they're working through that. We're going to start taking a look as we move towards September. So over the summer, we'll be looking as to what would be the ones that we want to add to that list. And if there's any amounts from this year from the people who we turned over last year that we want to add. So we'll be doing that.
The list that was in our packet was everybody that's been sent over to Portnoy.
Well, one list was the one that was from Portnoy, and one list was everybody has delinquencies today. Okay. At the bottom of that page, where the delinquencies were today, it was a little bit different. I think it fit on wide. It fit. It was I don't know, about 4 or 5 pages. It's my page 18. Steve, if you could pull up. This is unconfidential. No, this is important. This was.
This one.
So it's the first.
It's the Excel. I thought it was the Excel.
Yeah, it's actually the one that looks more like this. Yeah. The title didn't come over even though I gave it one. So,
Is it the one that ends with accounts with balances over
yes,
1,000? Okay.
yeah, that's the one that I wanted you
So
to
that
look at.
in our packet, it was the second list.
Yes. So that list, I just wanted to make a couple comments. One is that if you look at us, we have 351 accounts that have some balance greater than 90 days or 30 days. Yeah, 90 days. And then, but if you really, I wanted us to look at it from a standpoint of, if we took out Rockwell, we went from 167,000 down to 171,000. So I wanted to kind of give you what you're really dealing with, when you look at it. In addition to that, when we're looking at accounts that owe us over $1,000, 107,000 of that 171,000 is people that owe 1,000 or more. So that's a big piece of it, and so that's where we want to tackle.
Stephen, just so I'm clear, because I was reconciling both lists.
Yeah,
If they're on the Portnoy list, they were taken off of this.
I think that's correct.
Yes.
That's how I
Yeah,
understand
yeah.
it. So
Okay.
these would be people that would be added
Right.
back onto the Portnoy list if they don't do something between now and September.
Right.
Because we're going to try to do it about once a year, that we send over everything and let them do their collection
Got it.
process. So, and
Even though we still have accounts receivable.
yes,
So the sum of this at the bottom is not really accounts receivable.
this is the part that we're trying to handle within house, as I understand it.
Right.
But what I wanted to make note is, we have 132 accounts that's $50 or less of that 300. So about a third is really pretty small. And so in that, I looked at a lot of these. I mean, some are small as a penny, so I'm not sure why they're not paying the penny. But we'll go back and start looking to see if we can't start cleaning some of these just up a little bit and reminding people, maybe just a nice little letter saying, hey, you don't owe us a lot of money, but you still owe us a few bucks, and just let's get this kind of cleaned up.
Well, it must be a little bit of an oddity, because you have a whole series of folks that are $5.01.
Yeah,
So there must have been a billing change, or they looked at a different line.
Yeah.
or-
yeah.
Or they were maybe not paying that $5 fee for a while.
Yeah, but I don't know why the 1 cent came in.
Yeah.
It's like, it's bizarre. So we're looking at
And
it.
it's not 90 days, it's one cycle.
Yeah, it's one cycle. So I'm hoping that when we get this next bill that goes out, we'll get things cleaned up. But I just wanted you to me, I like to see, like, where's my real problems?
Mhm.
And if I'm gonna say, where's our real problems, I'm looking at about 78 accounts.
Right.
Right? If we cleaned up those 78 accounts, we wipe out, all but about $40,000 of outstanding debt there. So, all right,
So can I go back to the Portnoy report?
you sure can.
So there are some they have a status column
Yes,
indicating accounts that are in legal process or paid in full. And I'm assuming the paid in full, or they sent out that letter and we got immediate response to that. And then there's one that says payment plan. And I think there's only one.
I think there's only one that says that.
That says payment plan. And so we used to have our own version of payment plan.
Yeah,
Internally. So I don't recall when we approved this process that we would allow terms, if you will. And so what do you know?
I mean, I could call specifically and ask him on that one account.
We
Mike,
give discretion on terms for certain amounts.
Okay. So are they're not assessing a finance charge or anything?
I think it depended like how they interpreted what the person's issue was. So if they came, like, as I understood it, they were looking at it kind of on a case by case basis. If this is somebody who's just been ignoring us all along, there's probably not. If it's somebody who could come back and show a hardship of some sort, that was my understanding. But to say whether they're charging interest or not, I don't know that answer. I'd have to look at
Okay.
the sheet. I'm sorry to say mine printed out kind of funky. And if I can find it.
It is, I don't want to call out any names or anything like that, but it's
Maybe that foreign number.
it's about number 15.
How about if I just look
It's
into it?
15th row, I think.
Oh, here it is. Okay, let me see if I can match this up a minute. It doesn't appear that they're charging interest on that account.
Okay, fine. Because I don't think they're allowed to, but I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. And let me just say that it tells me that they're really not giving that as a major option to only have one out of everybody who's got that. The interesting part to me is the number of folks that it actually says in legal process. That means they're taking an extra step on those folks. So any other questions kind of about what's receivables in that way? Okay, the next piece that I would bring to your attention in the reports, one is, I think I'll just take these in the order that I think they came in your packet. There is a sheet that you've got that was kind of showing the bond fund activity. That's just the activity since the beginning of the year. What I would bring to your attention on that is that what's left in the bond is $386,000. Almost 387, I guess, if you look rounded up, but we're looking at about 386. And I think most of you know that our expenses are greater than that. And there's a sheet in your packet that talks about that. And I will, if I can, we'll skip real quick over to that one. That's the bond construction. That one there, the bond projection cash. I'll jump over to that. Where we are with that at this point. And this does not include actions that you may take tonight in regards to change orders. I would have to add those in. They're not on here. So when you do the change orders, I just wanted to make sure you're aware that I'll have to go back and add those on here.
At the bottom, you have action items for tonight.
Well, those are the action items that you're paying.
Right.
I'm assuming that you're going to approve those.
Ones are-
I didn't necessarily 100% assume that you were going to approve correct change orders. We're hoping that you will, but we're not. I didn't just assume that in this report. but I will go back and add it to this report once you approve those. Very similar to the one that you see under Ford Brothers Old Masters change order approved 6/20/22. It'll be something very similar to that, except for it'll be down under the Old Masters emergency driveway construction. Okay. But again, our gap right now is roughly about 700,000 between what the bond funds are, or actually greater than that, right? Over 761. I'm anticipating that that's about where we'll be. So,
And our use of proceeds of the bond,
yes,
we're certain we're complying with the terms of the bond. Cash is fungible, but use of proceeds is not necessarily.
yeah. So the way we're using it, I'm confident that it's all related to the project. There's nothing that's been done that was not in the bond documents up to this point. So, and we could go back and I can show all of that, how each expense went.
You know, like the appraisal on here for, you know, the appraisal cost would, I mean, I understand what it was for, but that could easily have just been a general expense.
Well, I mean, I guess you could argue it could be, but it was in the line of accomplishing what it was that you went out to do. It was part of getting your easement that you needed to finish the project. It's all within the project itself. And the way the bond was written, it's actually a little bit broader than just the project. And so I think you're well within what you can do. But this is definitely within the project. The purpose of the appraisal was to appraise property that you needed to take in order to finish the project.
Thank you.
Okay. The other things that you have in your book, or in your book, I'm sorry, in your packet, there's two reports. I'm gonna, unless you have questions on last year's, I'm not going to necessarily do anything from last year and talk about it. I'm going to talk about your current report for a moment. So you had two reports. One was 2022 and one was 2023. And that was basically up through April. And what we have, I would bring your attention to a couple areas where I am watching very carefully where we are. One is the infrastructure fee in SR2 and in the debt service fee in SR2. They're not tracking at a quarterly rate. And so I'm going to go back and look at what happened in the billing to make sure that there wasn't something that was done that was missed. So, you know, we anticipated collecting, if we want to say 100, if we look at 180,000, you would have thought about 45,000 versus 31,000. And then likewise at the 258, you know, I was expecting a quarter of that, and we're a little bit off on that.
How many times have we invoiced?
So we've only invoiced once this year. And so I'll go back and I'll check and make sure where we are, what happened, and we'll review that and see that. The next thing that I would bring to your attention is most of the rest of our expenses are on target, except for some reason postage is really high, and I need to find out why that's so far off. If that's the case, we're in trouble as we go forward for the rest of the year. So I need to just find out what's happened and why it's so high. It's clear to me on both SR2 and SR3 that's I don't know. I have to go back and check it. And so the only other things that I would make note of for you at this point is there was one other thing.
Well, I have two while you're.
Okay, go ahead.
And they may touch on this. So pipe maintenance and pump station maintenance.
Yep.
The encumbrances are, 50% of total budget for the year.
Yep.
Can you just explain those for us?
So typically how this works is we go in and put
Or it applies to any of the encumbrances.
yeah, so encumbrances typically what I have our departments do is go in and put in a quarter of what they think they're going to need at a time. And so they put it in 4 times a year. doing it, just so we get we get it kind of in the rhythm of doing it, versus trying to do it every month of what's coming in. So if the pump station maintenance, we look at it and we say, we know that we're going to spend, and it depends on which one you're looking at, but if you take whichever one it is, I'll pick SR2.
Right.
We know 21,000. For some reason, I don't know why, it looks like we picked up more in that one than we actually should have so far, and I'll look at what that is. But it's typically put in once a quarter, and so they would have had actually 2 quarters in by this point. So you should expect to see about half of the expenses in there. The payment may not have been applied directly against that purchase order, and if it wasn't, if it was just paid, then you would have the encumbrance in there, and we would need to back that encumbrance out for what's been paid already.
Right, and so that the encumbrance amount is reconciled, right? That's not, I mean, I don't see that as an expense. Do I? Because we haven't actually spent it.
That's correct. So when you look here, I'm looking at the one for 266,000 under SR3, or 21,000 under SR2. If it's
Right.
Pump maintenance.
Yes.
The 37,000 that's in SR3 has not been spent yet. It's what we anticipate spending in this quarter. It should be
I
what
guess
that
maybe
is.
my question really is, do you post that as an encumbrance on your ledger?
If it's on here, it's on our ledger.
Okay,
So if you take 262,000 minus what we've spent so far, the 58, minus the 37 gives you the remaining of 166. If that's what you're asking me.
yeah, so if we only wind up spending 30,000 on pump station maintenance, 7285 somehow gets,
It would, when we delete
You'll
that
release
purchase
that.
order,
Oh.
release that purchase order, or say that we're done with it, it would all get released back into the fund, and then you would go
Okay.
back again.
It's like, aren't we're talking about what's budgeted as opposed to what's spent?
It's talk, when we're talking about the encumbrance, it's anticipated expense that we think we're gonna hit it should be within the next quarter. That's how it's supposed to be. It's any expenses within that quarter. And so each department is supposed to put in for each quarter what they think they're gonna spend for things that are pretty consistent. Now, for things that we don't know what the number is, we do it on a monthly basis. But for things like, we pretty much have an idea usually about where our electric's going to be. We pretty much have an idea about the pump station maintenance. We may not have it on something that's an extra. And it may be that 50, I don't know why it would have gone there, but it may be that part of that maintenance extra is that it was addressing part of the challenge that we had down at the old Masters, but I'll verify that.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Steve?
No, that was the ones that I wanted to make sure that you were aware of.
So you went, are you finished going through then anything on the treasurer's report?
I am, unless you have questions.
And then, well, maybe you could introduce to us formally Yvonne. I don't think.
Oh, that's
everybody-
true. We can do that.
As part of
Yes.
treasurer's report. I mean, because this is the first time I'm meeting Yvonne. I
Oh,
think it would
okay.
be
I
nice.
apologize.
Just put it
My,
on the record, I don't.
yes, I forgot that this was her first time here, and yet I knew it because I had that conversation with her just this week about being here tonight. So yes, this is Yvonne Bullock. Yvonne started with us about 3 months ago, middle of February, and has worked diligently trying to get her hands around how we do business here. Has been doing reconciling of all the accounts from January forward. And so she's been working on that. And so as she's getting her hands around, I'm still kind of got my hands in, helping out little by little and trying to help get us started. And once we kind of get things into a flow where it's a monthly basis versus trying to get caught up, Yvonne will be doing the reports and have them here for you and going forward. So what I will tell you is Yvonne spent or 18 years in New Jersey, doing very similar to what she's doing here. But we do it differently in Pennsylvania.
And we're finding out, I guess.
And so she's having to learn how we do it different here in Pennsylvania. But what I think we're going to end up with at the end of the day is a much better product, because she's going to bring some of what they're doing there and we're going to apply it here and have even a better product than what we have now. We have, not what we have is bad. It's just making it better. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I think that you're going to see a really good stuff going forward in that area. And so I'm pleased.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome. Yvonne.
Thank you.
Board.
Okay, so moving on then to Dave Porter's engineers report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'll start with our ongoing public sewer extension project. Just a quick update on the Camelot service area contract. PICO right now is scheduled for the 25th of May to set transformer. And we've received some information from the electrical contractor with regard to price increases for materials for the wire. We're working with them to try to identify some alternative sourcing for that, and some alternative installation methods to kind of temper that increase in cost. But at face value, the authority authorized the change order, which was number 7 last June of 2022, which took the unit cost for just the wire itself from $1.50 a foot to $4 a foot. And recall that this electrical run is about 1,800 feet from Westchester Pike to the pump station. Because it's 3-phase electric, we have 3 lines that have to be run. So the 1,800 feet is 5,400 feet in quantity total, which adds up very quickly. Now, last year included several other material costs, namely conduit and other things related to construction of that electrical service line. I was contacted by the electrical contractor on Friday afternoon about increase in cost and sourcing issues for the material for that electric line. And he presented me with a change order number 8 late this morning at a cost of $15 a foot. And also indicated that his other sources where he would obtain the material were quoting him $7 to $11 a foot, but couldn't source the material for approximately a year. So to obtain it immediately at $15 a foot would be the cost. Our team made several phone calls and contacted some other vendors and contractors to verify this. We've identified 2 other potential sources of material at $6 and $8.50 per foot. So the issue with that is it's not continuously spooled. Some of it is short material, as they call it, which could be spliced and installed. So I've asked Kevin Ford and Ford Brothers to get me a quote for using that lower cost material, doing the splice work, and what the labor cost would be, so I can compare that versus what the continuous pull for the 1,800 feet would look like. So I've received the one just for the $15 per foot continuous pull, and that would be about $69,000 additional. That's on top of what was already increased last June. Looking at the $6 a foot at face value, you're looking at somewhere around $15,000 for an increase. Yes.
And again, it's not like we have all different types of equipment at the pump station. We have pump and maybe some other electronic equipment.
Right.
What is the practical difference between continuous run and not continuous run for our purposes?
For our purposes, and I talked with one of the other electrical contractors about this and with Kevin Ford about it. The issue with splicing is obviously anytime you have a material that you cut and put back together, you're always at a risk of that material being disjointed. You're also running the risk of having different fluctuations in power through that splice.
Does
So-
does the pump manufacturer or our warranty specify that power must be through a continuous run or?
No, it's not. And in fact, they would have to do splicing at different locations just because
Anyhow.
it's very difficult to pull continuously through several manholes. So different junction boxes, they're gonna have to splice anyway. The concern is to have it relatively equal across the three lines. And that's sort of the challenge that was explained to me by the contractor was that, well, if you're gonna splice one 3 times, you don't want to have the other two just spliced once or spliced, twice. So that's sort of what he's explained to me, but nevertheless, I said, look, we need to have an idea of what this is going to be so we can make an evaluation and determination and a recommendation to the authority. The reason that was given that he didn't allocate or purchase the material in 2022 was because of the delays on the project. He wasn't certain that it would move forward at that time. And for obvious reasons, we would have made accommodation to store that material had it been purchased, but in my experience, contractors typically don't purchase materials until they're ready to install. Because they don't get paid for materials purchased and stockpiled. And that's sort of the reason was given to me today.
But there was no communication offering that to us as a
No.
possibility. Even though that it's not customary to pay for
Right.
materials, prior to installation, near to installation, weren't given that option.
Correct. Nor were we advised that the material cost could potentially increase 300%.
Yeah.
So, but,
Unless you read the newspaper every day and you knew the price of commodities were going up.
and you follow it every day. And
Yeah.
Um,
That's your line of business.
like an electrical contractor, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be cute about that, but it's frustrating and that's the way I express frustration. The maybe the more important thing is for this project is there a critical point at which we've got to make a decision? Like if the material was here today, we wouldn't be running it tomorrow. We'd have to wait for other work to be done. So what's that drop dead date? where
they're within a week of having their conduit installed.
We were hoping it was
Certainly.
for this meeting.
I know.
and we knew it was gonna be
Certainly.
coming week. So the next step is he's to give you some type of.
He's to get me a comparison price for using
Splicing.
the
versus
short
other.
material and splicing.
You're gonna have that price by,
I was hoping to have it for tonight, but obviously that didn't happen, so I'm hoping tomorrow,
So look,
the next day.
let me ask the chair and or our operations manager, I don't think we want to wait till our next meeting to have to make a decision. If we have to make a decision, what is the method at which we do that?
I think we can call, there is a way that we could meet. Even if it's
Yeah, we could,
because we've already approved, the only thing we haven't approved is the increase in price. Is that true?
so, you've already approved the contract, and so it's an increase in price. So if you choose to wait and not act tonight, which you don't have probably enough information to make your decision tonight,
Nothing really to
we
decide.
could call an emergency meeting. I believe we have to give 24 hours notice. We would give the 24 hours notice, and then we could have that meeting.
I don't think this qualifies as an emergency meeting under the Sunshine Act. I mean, I know that we all know it's an emergency, but
Yeah.
an emergency is pretty.
It's pretty
and I will
limited,
let Mike
but
opine on that, But
24 hours advertisement is a special meeting or an emergency
yes, we can
meeting.
do a special.
So it's,
meeting.
it's
not an
semantics
emergency.
really as much as it is anything else.
Yeah.
The other thing you could do is approve it subject to Dave's approval, you know, and let him tell you what the best methodology and price is. I mean, yeah, I mean, even, I don't know if you want to delay this project even a day, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and unfortunately, just food for thought, I don't know how long this material would be available, one at the $15 a foot. I don't think I wouldn't recommend the authority to pay that. The short material, I don't think there's a real jeopardy of losing that. But the continuous full length material is the one that I was told by the contractor may not be available even tomorrow. So
You believe we've done our due diligence enough by comparing just the short material to the, you know, the original price that Ford gave us? Or do you feel as though there needs to be further investigation in order for us to do reasonable due diligence on whether or not we're paying a reasonable price for the electrical wire?
I would not recommend to the authority to approve a change order for 375% increase.
Not for the first, I'm
Right.
talking about the short material.
For the short material at $6 a foot. Ideally, I'd like to have some additional input, but I'm relying on
You mean from other vendors?
from other vendors, but I'm relying on my team's experience and their contacts. So full disclosure, the gentleman that we spoke with is Sam Messina. Sam Messina is an electrical contractor. He does a lot of work with our team in other municipalities. Sam Messina's cousin is Mike Messina, who works for Pico. And Pico is he's actually the gentleman that will be on site to do the transformer set and to energize the station. And Mike has been present at all of the other pump stations on the project. So Mike is very aware of what this project entails. And Sam and Mike were the ones that conferred. And actually Herb McCombie was the one that put me in touch with Sam Messina to speak with him about that. And Sam is the one that has the two sources of materials that are at $6 and $8.50 a foot. So I would rely heavily on their expertise and their forthrightness as far as the accuracy of that material cost.
Well, so look, respond to that. We're gonna rely on McCombie
Mhm.
engineers and your experts that you use are the people you rely on, and I guess we have confidence in that, and I think you've explained some of those details, but we don't know them. They're third parties to us. That's my first response. The second is, I guess I'm a little uncomfortable with the subject to Dave Porter, engineer, saying it's kind of okay, the price tag, we're not off by, you know, a small decimal point. We're off by a big decimal points here.
I guess the other procedure you could take, remember that the Sunshine Act prohibits a majority of the board from deliberating on business. They appoint a committee of less than a majority of the board to make this. Steve could pull you individually and you could ratify it at the next. I mean, there's a couple options. I mean, look, the best way to go is to get a meeting together if you can, but running against Memorial Day weekend, whatever the heck else, you know, so and we have a project we need to get moving on. So those are, you know, the off the cuff ideas I could come up with to keep this moving.
I mean, do you feel as though, Dave, that you want to do any more research into other possibilities other than the two that we're kind of looking at right now?
The only other
Can I interject
Sure.
for just a second? The other variable we don't have is a price from Ford Brothers to Splice. yet,
Splice.
right?
Correct. Yeah.
So. The labor might be such that
It's not gonna be worth it, yeah,
Mm,
or
yes,
it's gonna balance out, yeah. Okay.
Right.
So we don't have, I mean, we don't have all the information, I think, you know. We need to move forward through you, Dave, diligently to get all of the information related to the short material. And the full pricing for installation. And at the same time, I mean, I don't think it would hurt for you to continue to look for maybe an option 3, which we haven't.
Certainly.
Haven't completely closed off the possibility that there's another option 3, which may mean. Material from another source or whatever.
Yeah, the other source, full disclosure, that I was going to suggest and going to reach out to today. Until I got kind of rolling with the other other folks, was Lenai Electric, who was the other subcontractor, other general contractor for electric on the other pump stations. So coincidentally, I am meeting with Lenai Electric on Friday. With regard to some of the other KBX recommended improvements, so.
And I'm just, okay, well, I think that's a great idea.
Mhm.
So let's make sure you get information from them that might be available. And, I mean, I'm just wondering with 24 hours notice for a special meeting. Um. We try to pull something together.
24 hours is really more than 24 hours, right? Because we need to run an ad.
Right, gotta
So
run
it's
it out.
really
Well, that's why I'm
48
thinking,
hours at least.
well, that's why I'm thinking for like maybe Monday,
Yeah, or maybe we just want to pick a date while we're sitting here.
That's
We can
what,
run the
this
ad
is,
tomorrow.
yeah. So we say Monday, the 22nd. I don't know what everybody's availability
I
is.
will make myself available.
So just so you're aware that Monday, the 22nd is also a board meeting night, which is fine if you want to meet
4 or 5.
like at 5 and, or yeah, I could probably even have you meet at 5:30. And then we could move forward. I just would let you know, I will not be here, so I don't think you need me here for any reason on this one.
Tomorrow morning.
But I think we're.
Well, you could attend via Zoom.
Yeah, I'll
Could
be
you
home
attend-
on the 22nd.
Could you attend via Zoom?
I can attend as long as it's after 9 in the morning, I can attend.
Oh, so you'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be
here.
back.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Okay, so we're gonna plan for Monday, the 22nd
At 5.
at 5 o'clock. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna ask a question.
Of course.
Just, Dave, if we wait till Monday, what does that do to the project? I mean, like, if Ford Brothers is completing, will they be done the conduit like Tuesday or Thursday? And now are they gonna hit us with a delay?
I don't see them getting done with all their conduit until at least the end of the week. Steve.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure you weren't being hit with a
And-
delay issue.
And the timing for sourcing that material is, it's available. So there's not gonna be a delay if we say, okay, use the short material and go with the splicing option, or if we were able to find it elsewhere. The interest is finding that material that's available immediately,
Okay.
not backordered.
So we're gonna set it, did we say 5:30 or 5 o'clock?
We said 5. but
Okay.
We'll have a Zoom option.
We'll have a Zoom option for you. And I think we've clarified this. Even the municipal authority code allows as long as there's a majority and one person's here.
Yeah.
Yep. So we need one person here. And then as long as we have a
At
majority,
least
I'll be here.
okay? You know, that's an action item for you. Okay.
Okay, so,
Yeah, Dave, my comments are not aimed at McCombie or you, so it's just.
Understood.
right, so, yeah, we're gonna act quickly to get this.
Yes, ma'am.
When I, any more info. Okay, anything else on your engineer's report? I think there's,
Yeah, just a few small updates. One, I just alluded to a meeting I have with Evoqua and Lenai Electric this Friday was previously scheduled for the 8th of May, and I just could not get both vendors together. So this Friday at 7:30 a.m., we're meeting at the Springton Pump Station to start evaluating the bioxide odor control systems, and I think Lenai has one pump station where there's a mechanical issue with one of the heaters there. So on Pomona Avenue near Fairview, there's been an item on my list to get some quotes for paving. I had our guys go out and measure that area. I was actually out before the meeting to verify. I'm looking at like a 12-foot wide by 140-foot length section of that road that potentially could be full depth reclamation, which means we're taking out wearing and binder, and we're down into the base of the street. Because there's some rather large potholes in there that were exacerbated by some of the construction traffic. They were there before the project, they were there during the project, and they're still there. But I'll have cross section, Steve, for the township to look at in rolling into their road program and getting some pricing for that. The other option, looking at that same area, would be to do the other half of the road. I think that could just be done with mill and overlay if we wanted it to be consistent, but that's up to the authority and the township on how they want to handle it. Either way, we'll get pricing for both of those items. And then you'll have the other option of the road program pricing as well. We're ongoing with working out some of the discussion with J.O. and Bradley with regard to settlement on those contracts. I did speak with Julio at J.O. and Bradley with regard to some of the items in there and had a brief discussion about the memo that I was preparing, and indicated to him that I should have something for him this week. I was trying to have it done last week. I just didn't get it done. It was a little more involved in looking back through the records than I thought it was going to be initially. So the PA Small Water and Sewer Grant, we put a bid out for Westchester Pike sewer main replacement. I did look into the DCED's website. I did not find any information on there as far as when they intend to award. We were told it was going to be April of 23, and April has come and gone, and it's May now, and as of Friday, there was no update on any award there. So as soon as I hear something, I'll pass it on to the authority, and the authority can make a decision on if and when they want to rebid that project. Ellis Preserve, just so the authorities aware, I think we updated that the DEP approved their final planning module or exemption based on our analysis of the pump station flow there. So they're ongoing with their connections moving forward now. We've completed survey for Westchester Pike at Dunwoody and for French Road. And I had a conversation. Well, first for Westchester Pike, we're working on pulling together a base plan to evaluate the sanitary sewer there. I did have a conversation with the authority chair about sending some information pieces out to the folks on French Road with regard to best practices for their sanitary sewer main or lateral there. So I'll be putting something together in draft form, and I'll send it over to Steve and to Mike to take a look at. And lastly, with regard to the fat oil and grease program, I did finally get some documents pulled together in a Dropbox and sent that link out to folks last week. So those are a lot of information there, I know,
Yeah.
and it gives several examples as to how other municipalities, larger and smaller, have dealt with fat oil and grease and their grease trap programs. So I'm open to suggestions on how the authority would like to roll that in, and certainly we can discuss that in greater detail once everybody has had a chance to look at that material.
So two quick questions on that.
Mhm.
So on a fog ordinance, for lack of a better term, is that a recommendation we would make to the township to do? Okay, fine. I just didn't know the procedure, because we don't
Yeah,
have.
and I've kind of briefed both the solicitor and the board that that's potentially coming. And so they're prepared.
My second question, David, is, I recall one of the pump stations, we had a non-working hoist or crane because it was out of alignment and you were concerned with the foundation. I don't see that on the list.
Good point. I will make sure it's on the list moving forward.
What are we doing with that?
I'm gonna have to get some contractors to take a look at that. So I apologize if that got dropped from the list. It shouldn't be. It should be on that. I think why it may not be on there is because it was initially part of that KBX
Okay,
pump
got it,
station
got it.
tour,
Sorry.
so to speak. So, but yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I will make sure that gets carried through.
I'm done with my comments. Thank you.
I mean, just on the French Road one, just, you know, we were given that picture of, the easements. And one of the issues with that, I don't know how many other portions of the system are like this, but we don't have any ability to get in there to camera the lines, which is why it's such a problem. So, you know, we've got just 3 people hooked up there, but and, you know, at some point, you know, it may become such a problem that we get added to camera it.
I don't know if we determined that we ever accepted dedication.
Exactly, and I think that's what we're kind
Yeah.
of still like
So I-
there.
It's
and-
kind of still in flux a little bit.
I took Dave's pictures, gave them to a title search. Hopefully, we'll see if we have any hits of the recorder.
Okay, so it'd be good to understand, you know, if we did take dedication, then we may have to look at this a little more closely, and I don't know how many other kind of, you know, access points are that
Well,
way.
What I would say is
It's kinda
typically we
scary.
have an easement where, you know, the pipe runs wherever it runs, and then we
Mhm.
typically have an easement that goes along with that, that we can access and walk through and go do. In some cases, it's more difficult because it runs behind houses versus in front of houses. When it's in the street, it's not much of a problem.
And Steve,
Good.
that they typically have a manhole on either end of the line. In this case, it's more like a typical sanitary sewer lateral where it's a pipe that's hard connected to the main without a structure to access it. And then on the other end where the homes connect, there's just cleanouts. I mean, you can get in through the cleanouts to maintain the line, but it's very difficult to get a camera down through a cleanout into the sanitary sewer to tell what's going on in there. So if it ultimately ends up that it's the authority's responsibility, ownership and maintenance, the recommendation would be to put some kind of access port on either end at a minimum so that we can get in there. Certainly using the existing sanitary sewer main easement to get there is an option. Given the topography in this location, it may not be practical to use.
I think worst case scenario, we try to go in and quiet title on an easement by necessity, right? Like.
Yeah.
If it turns out that we own this line, it's necessary for us to maintain it. So we'd have to pick the most efficient access point and try to quiet title that way. Well, first talk to the owner, of course, and then.
Yeah.
If they grumble at us, maybe try to quiet title.
And right now, there's no current issues there. That we're aware of.
No, I think that's one of the issues is that if you remember, we said there was a blockage that we're working through.
It's someone's
So the
flushing.
blockage is
Yeah.
still there.
I don't know where, I think we've gone through and we've done some work there, but we don't know if there's something that's still in the line because we haven't gotten a camera in.
Okay, because we can't get, okay. All right, well, to be continued on that one. Okay, it sounds to me like you got through everything there.
Yes, ma'am, I've done.
All right. All right, and then Steve, do you have any report or?
I have the report that's been attached that came from KBX, so I just wanted you to
Right,
be
right.
aware of that.
Okay.
Hopefully you've had a chance to look at that and they have some recommendations for some rare repairs at the bottom. If it's okay with you, I think some of them are already on the list, but we'll send them back over to Macombi for review and to come back with a recommendation. I know we've looked at I'm well aware that the bioxide repair issues at both Springton Point and Newtown Hunt I believe are being looked at already. And then actually the broken frame and broken fence are on here still. So we're still watching those. And I actually did have a conversation with one of the gentlemen from KBX specifically about the crane and its use. And he indicated that it may be as simple as just actually remounting it. And so we'll just have to see if that's the case.
Thank you.
Oh, I have one other thing, just to let you know, we did send out the letters to Dogwood and Dogwood Place and Dogwood Lane for the 8 or 9 houses that are there for connection. And so we've done that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Next, moving on to the bills. Can I have a motion to approve the bills on check register A dated May 15, 2023, totaling $14,453.94.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to 9.2. Consider approving the bills on check register B dated May 15, 2023, for an amount not to exceed $10,000.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Steve. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, next, consider approving the bills and check register C dated May 15, 2023, totaling $393,590.32. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to 10.1, consider approving the following payments from the bond associated with 537 Public Sewer Project build out. Gonna go ahead and list all of these, if that's okay. $125 for Columbia Engineers for Part 2 permit work associated with the Ashford service area, $5,785 for Herbert LeCombie Engineers for Part 2 permit work associated with the Camelot service area, $1,750 for the Cost Value Consulting LLC for appraisal services associated with the Camelot service area. Do I have a motion?
So moved. So moved.
Motion from Lewis. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Tom. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on to new business, 12.1, consider approving a credit in the amount of $654.60 to the Redford Friends School due to a water leak that occurred between November 2022 and March 2023. Do I have a motion?
Just the basis for us that it was in the package, but we use.
I'll make the motion and then.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'll make the motion. Does anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
All right, second from Steve, and go ahead, Lewis.
So the question really was for Steve Bradley. We use the same sort of methodology that we did with the last leak
That's correct.
that we
Yeah.
dealt with. So we have some consistency in how we
Yes, and you'll notice that there's 2 separate rates because it occurred.
got it. Okay, that was it. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on, consider approving change order number 1 from AP Construction to install 18-inch HDPE and FES for the existing swale to flow underneath the new access drive at the old Masters Pump Station. I have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Steve. Do I hear a second? I'll second it. But I do have a question. Can we get an explanation as to this one? Is this
Thank you.
from you, Dave?
Sure. So this is the area within the easement on the Rafferty property, and the topography through that easement as an existing kind of drainage gully through that area. With regard to the proposed grading for the driveway, it wasn't, because of the level of the scale for the proposed grading, it wasn't real clear whether we would need a pipe or whether that grading could be feathered out and tied in to allow that water to just pass kind of through and over the driveway. Because of the depth of that gully, by field observation and what's actually out there, it was appropriate to install some kind of a conveyance under the driveway so the driveway wouldn't be washed out. So that cost is relative to the cost of the pipe, the labor for installation, the erosion control, energy dissipation on the discharge side of the pipe, and then some flared end sections for the head wall and end wall.
And what was the cost of that sheet water? That up there?
$5,469.22.
And we had a photo of that too, I think, in last lobby area, so.
Does it change what we have to do with the road itself? We have to build for lack of an engineer's,
No, because of the depth of that gully, the pipe can be situated and the road can be, or the driveway can be constructed above it. With suitable cover over the pipe. And that, from a drainage standpoint, the water that was being conveyed through that swale or gully is the same water that would be conveyed by the pipe. So there's no increase in discharge to the Rafferty property.
thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next, consider approving change order number 2 from AP Construction to install 4.5 ounce non-woven fabric underneath the access drive millings. Do I hear a motion? I'll make the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second.
Second from Lewis. Any questions or comments regarding this one? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on, discussion and possible action regarding the proposed sewer adjustment for 2020, for 227 Charles Ellis Drive. Building 100 to 200. Is this the?
This is our
Famous.
our famous ongoing issue that's been going on for probably over a year now, but so what I suggested to Steve was that we put it on the agenda, whether you took action or not, under old business, just so we don't lose sight of it, because I think it came up, where was it?
Yeah,
I did ask Steve to reach out to the folks from Rockwell again. We received back the exact same information that we sent out the last time, or they sent us the last time, and it was just this adjustment. So one thought that has crossed my mind since we put this on the agenda would be that they made an adjustment of, I don't know, $81,000 or something like that. I'm having a hard time reading. $61,000 dollars would be that we could potentially take the rate that they billed them. We can figure that out from the bill and go back and say that was the number of gallons, and potentially go back that way. It's not that's not necessarily, I mean, we're having to make assumptions. And so that would be
Yeah, the
one way
first-
that we could do that. The problem was it was over time. And if you look at it, I think they actually have 2 different rates. And so that would be the harder part of that. But we could potentially do it at the lower rate and just say this is the number of gallons, or do it at the higher rate and say this is the number of gallons, and it would give you a number. Or if you want to throw something else out there and say, hey, we're willing to do half of what's here, or do a quarter, whatever that number, and then we make that pre-presentation to them, we can do that. So and you don't need to do anything tonight. I just put it on here so we had a placeholder going forward.
So I would say, first of all, I appreciate the offer for you to sort of back into some mysterious number. But the usage of your time and Yvonne's time and Stephen's time, I think would be for naught. Because we don't even know if that's an adjustment for water leakage or for a billing error or an overpayment. It just says adjustment.
Yep.
And I think we've attempted to ask multiple times. Can we get Aqua to tell us exactly what they reversed? Not a goodwill credit because they're nice guys to a client, but what actually did not go into the sewer system. with the backdrop that this authority relies on aqua billing to post revenues and turn around and bill people. And anytime there's an error, we have to make a reversal, and we're not in a position to make reversals with great frequency without significant harm to our financial standing. And this notion of reliance to me is very important. So I appreciate the offer for you guys to do that, but I think your time is better spent doing other things. But we need to bring this to a close. This is, I think, my 15th month or
Yeah,
16th month
and
on the
it's
authority.
remaining on our books
Yeah.
as a.
Right.
Accounts receivable.
Correct.
So it's just not, I don't think it's prudent for us to carry this out much longer. So take a stance. You know. I just, yeah,
I mean, we could just hand it off to Portnoy. And let them, figure out how to present the material we've been asking for a year in a court case. And I'm looking actually at our solicitor right now
I was
because,
looking at my shoes.
okay.
No, it is an option, certainly, I mean, I think we'd want to sit down and talk to Portnoy ahead of time on that one, because I might say, like a little complex for us, but,
well, I like that though. Why don't we have Steve talk to Portnoy, before the next meeting? And see what they think of that. Where it would fall in our contract and what that would, what their suggestions would be.
And we
In
know what
light
it
of
would cost
what we
us.
have.
Right? We could back into exactly what it would cost us if they were successful.
Yes.
So,
That, when that credits a dollar. amount.
yeah, it's just $1. It does, there's no meter adjustment on them. Yeah.
All right, I don't, let's just do that and then, but at the next meeting, let's all, I mean, I think we're all kind of at this point now where we just, gotta make a decision as to where we're going from here.
Right.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, we're going to, I'll make a motion. Everybody should have received in their packet the refund policy that we've been, a long awaited refund policy. And it's been distributed. I'll make a motion to approve the refund policy. That's been provided to us by our solicitor. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments?
I would say it's a great policy. It's good to get this on the books and all the wordsmithing that may have been provided back, it's a good product. Thank you very much.
We appreciate your efforts on it and appreciate everybody's comments. So, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we've already done the public comment, so any items next for the agenda other than the one that we just brought up on the Ellis Drive?
I'm sorry, can I just back up on what we just approved? So now that we've established a policy, and I just assume that the authority's professional staff takes and implements that policy as they see fit.
Can we make
Well,
sure? Steve
we're gonna
reads
follow
it?
what the policy says, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I mean,
but-
procedures and.
Yeah, we'll put procedures and everything in place based on what the policy says. If there's some that need to be added, or if there's any question that we have, we'll come back and direct that to you.
Right.
The one thing that I would say, in addition to that, is that, we would, we'll evaluate it and probably talk to you whether you want to. People will probably ask about it, like if we say that we have this policy, can we look at the policy? Do you want us to display it? And if so, do you want us to put it on your webpage?
I think it should absolutely be on. our
So if you're
webpage.
comfortable with that, we would put it there so I can refer people to it and just say, this is what we're going by. And then, if there's a question, then we could address it. But that's what I would initially suggest.
Sorry, I mean,
Yeah. I think that was
Fantastic.
good. Okay, anything else for next for the agenda? I think we know there's some pretty significant outstanding issues, and we'll be meeting shortly anyways.
Yeah, next agenda is one item, hopefully.
Yes.
So, I mean, we'll keep it at one item unless something major comes up between now and then. I did get in and I haven't had a chance to process all the way through the bills from KBX related to the Old Masters Pump Station work that's been done. I would tell you it's much less than I initially thought. I think it's under 50,000 or right about just over 50, yeah. So just over 50,000. So just know that we might have that on your agenda as an action.
Okay. All right, I therefore